Welcome back from that break. We're still going on with the Rose Live show, and of course, we are still talking about this very important topic of alcoholism. It's such a habit that has actually eaten up this generation, most especially young people. We really want to understand its effects and how best can we deal with it at the end of the day. Well, joining me on this conversation, I do have Maggie, who happens to be a psychiatric clinical officer. She's going to be able to help us really understand how can we deal with alcoholism at the end of the day. And of course, on the other side, I do have Priscilla, who happens to be a nutritionist. She's also going to draw insight on how we can deal with alcoholism, most especially when it comes to the way we have to eat and probably some of the foods that we need to, put into our bodies to see that we can fight alcoholism at the end of the day. Good to have you, Priscilla and Maggie. And I'll definitely start off with Priscilla. Yes, I will start with Priscilla. I really want to understand with the entire time you've been into this nutritionist kind of industry, I will call it industry, is alcoholism connected to nutrition, and how is it connected?
Yes, alcoholism is connected to nutrition because alcoholism, or let me say taking in excessive alcohol over time, it affects the nutritional status of the alcoholic. When someone takes in excessive alcohol, they are taking in many calories, and this leads them into reducing either they skip meals, or they even choose to eat foods that have less nutrients, and so it affects their nutrition. When they start skipping meals, over time they become malnourished.
Probably, have you dealt with someone for all the time you've practiced your career? Have you dealt with someone who is struggling with alcohol?
Yes.
How have you managed to deal with them?
It depends on individual commitment, because to do with alcohol, it's not a one-day thing. It needs someone to first get committed that I want to get to do with alcohol. So after getting committed that I want to do with alcohol, then everything can go on smoothly. First of all, that individual will have to look out for the triggering factors. What makes him to drink? What maintains him in that state?
Exactly.
Yes. After that, then we can plan or find out ways on how to help him. Before that, most of the people we get people who are in complicated states, who are really ill.
It has gone to the extreme,
Yes.
and they feel like, I think they need to go and see a medical practitioner.
Yeah, that's the people I've so far dealt with. Yeah, they come in that very bad state to the extent that they don't really know who they are. It's usually the family members or the police, or maybe other relatives who usually bring them to the hospital. Yeah, at first we usually deal with the withdrawal symptoms, because usually those people, they have taken alcohol for a long period of time. Yeah, more than a year and more. So they usually get into that state, and the first thing we do to them is to detoxify that alcohol from their blood.
Is it a very easy kind of process that it's easy for you to see how you can actually help these people, most especially when you're carrying out that particular process?
Yeah, I can call it easy when you have really assessed that person and you know the condition that it is this. It's alcohol use disorder, or partially that alcohol use disorder. It's easy to manage them.
I want to bring in Priscilla on this matter. Have you had any encounter or experience working on someone who is an alcoholic?
Yes, it has not been I've not gone to the end of the treatment with this person, but I have come across someone who has been going through alcohol addiction.
Have you really managed to help them in one way or the other, or probably what are some of the challenges you faced while dealing with these people?
These people, the main issue they have is emotional they're emotionally unstable, or they have a problem with making decisions. And so for me, for someone who is trying to get over or to stop drinking alcohol or to reduce, the first thing they would need to do is to get clarity. How can what do I need to know about alcohol? What is it affecting in my life? What is it, what, for example, the relationships in an alcoholic's life may be affected because of excessive alcohol intake. And so they need to understand these things that they are losing out on, the things that are going wrong, so that they know and they make good, sustainable goals, achievable goals. Yes.
I really want to know from maybe Maggie here, to what extent does someone really walk to you for help? Or probably when someone is really is being brought by relatives or family members, at what extent is this person brought to you?
Sometimes it does not really need like somebody is really off, but it depends on the way this person has been presenting outside there, especially during the withdrawals period. Remember, if this person has been taking alcohol for a long period of time, when they suddenly drop the intake, they'll experience such symptoms. For example, someone will start to get fits, all that shivers. This person will become confused. This person will have altered kind of consciousness, will not be this no person that I can see, I can do this, I can judge. This person is going to be very different. Yes, this person can also have the nausea, the vomiting. This person will really be ill to the extent that even somebody who is outside can see this person is not well.
As was about Anders in Uganda, the syndrome, withdrawal syndromes.
Can't really tell in Uganda.
Anyway, Priscilla, as a nutritionist, I really want to know. One thing I've really heard is that someone who takes a lot of alcohol loses appetite for food. Yes. And probably as a nutritionist, don't you find it so hard for you to be able to convince this person to actually get on a kind of a nutrition therapy? And it may be in the first place, does it really help?
Yes, it helps. When someone takes a lot of alcohol, that the calories in their body increase. And so when they start to desire the foods that have less nutrients, or they even start skipping meals because they do not want to eat. And so that affects their nutritional status because the nutrients they're taking in are less than they should be taking in. So when someone's nutritional status is lower than it should be, it's bad. They start getting things like anxiety, depression, fatigue, all these things, but their emotional well-being is affected. And so that alone, it makes it hard for someone to, for example, if someone is depressed, they would not want to stop taking alcohol. So they instead want to take more alcohol. So it's a little bit hard, but with nutrition education, someone and other things, like if a psychiatrist would talk to him or her, it would help this person know what is going on and maybe eat better so that their health improves and they can stop or reduce alcohol consumption.
As a nutritionist, what are some of the foods that you can advise someone to like start on taking while they are into that state?
Fruits and vegetables, because so many vitamins are. When someone takes alcohol, excessive alcohol over time, you find that they are deficient in so many of these vitamins B and the vitamins mainly. So they need to take more of that, but they also need to take carbohydrates like rice. The examples of carbohydrates. They need to eat a balanced diet.
Yes, in simple terms.
Exactly, and stop skipping meals.
So whoever has been skipping meals, probably thinking that it's good for your health, probably might not be an alcoholic, but it is also good for your body not to skip meals. I'm sending this message to all of you who actually have a meal a day. Not because you want, but try as much as possible to have all the meals. Madam Maggie, I really want to understand, how can an alcoholic overcome what we call hangover? Because I've grown up in a community whereby a lot of people take alcohol, and probably when someone has a hangover, one thing they are told is to take alcohol again so that they get rid of that particular hangover. Is there any medical advice that you could give to someone to overcome hangover?
Okay, for someone who is experiencing a hangover after drinking, this usually happens, hangover usually happens to these people who take a lot of alcohol at a moment. They usually experience these hangover symptoms like the dizziness, the fatigue, the vomiting, yes. And usually the first thing they should do, for those ones who have not been taking alcohol for a long period of time, it can be resolved from home, yes. Whereby at first, after having a hangover, someone may take a lot of fruits. That somebody can also take, and they can sleep for some good hours, but not necessarily meaning that they should
sleep the whole day and keep on sleeping.
Yeah, and another thing, it's not necessarily mean that after having a hangover you go ahead and drink. That one is going to affect more of your life. Another thing, if you don't want to have a hangover again, you can revise your way of drinking. Not taking a lot of alcohol at a moment. Remember, a healthy person or someone who drinks, they should drink reasonably. For example, a male is supposed to take like 2 to 3 units a week. And that is, for example, someone is taking a beer, you can take like 1 bottle
a week.
In a day, that's 1.5.
In this generation, whereby every day people are saying,
okay, I'm advising someone who can control their drinking. Yes. However, you have those who cannot control their drinking. Yeah, for someone who can control their drinking, they can follow this, that a male can take 2 to 3 units a week. You can divide accordingly. Like a bottle of beer contains 1.5 units, approximately 1.5 units a bottle. So you can weigh and see how am I going to utilize these 2 to 3 units.
But don't you think that this is how it really starts, from 1.2 units to 4 units to 6 units, and before
that's
you know
how it starts. I'm just advising someone who can control.
Who can't get rid of alcohol.
No, they can get rid of that, but it's not a one-day thing. Yes, for females they can take like, for males you can take 3 to 4. Then for females, it's 2 to 3. Remember, women get more affected when they take alcohol. A female can just take one bottle and you black off. We're not like males. Yeah, for someone who can control their drinking, they can do that. Yes.
Before maybe break off, I really want to ask one last question, and it's something that I really want to know. How maybe when does someone get to a point of understanding that I now need help? Do I have to first undress myself? Do I have to first throw stones? When do I actually come to a point of knowing that now I need help?
Okay, for someone to get to know that I really need help from the hospital, you may experience the following. For someone who cannot really go without a beer or taking alcohol, and you always have that urge to take alcohol, this is alarming. You're getting dependent on alcohol. And for someone who takes most of their time drinking, you cannot do anything without drinking, and you spend most of your time drinking instead of being productive. Maybe at your workplace you spend most of your time drinking. That's really very bad. It's alarming. And for someone who finds it difficult to do away with the drinking, it's really very bad. And for someone who usually gets the withdrawal symptoms maybe after taking a drink, like you cannot do anything without taking a drink in the morning, you're going to have these symptoms during the day. So for you to overcome those symptoms, you go ahead and do what? And drink. And for other people who are really badly off. These ones you can just see him for himself, or her, she cannot see herself. Starting to really becoming confused, being a different person, becoming a nuisance in the what?
In the
community. Yes. And for those ones who behave different after taking a lot of alcohol, they call this intoxication. When you get intoxicated with alcohol, you're going to behave different. You can end up committing a crime under the influence of alcohol. You can cause a road accident. Those who drive after drinking, you're doing this under the influence of what?
Alcohol.
Yeah, when you reach that moment, or someone or relative sees you in that state, please help that person reach out.
Well, we really need to maybe get over this, but Priscilla, before we go, can someone balance the two, balance nutrition and balance their ways of drinking? And if at all they balance them very well, can someone go ahead and drink?
Yes. The first thing someone would need is, let me say, discipline. That's the very first thing. But also people need, alcoholics need to find another purpose of life apart from alcohol. Get a hobby that is healthy, do exercise, because when you exercise, it improves your emotional health. Therefore, you're not always stressed, and therefore, and so you don't run to alcohol as much as you used to. And then get enough sleep, but also eating healthy helps you to balance your moods. Yes, it helps you balance your moods, it helps you reduce anxiety, fatigue, all these things, and someone would be able to balance.
Well, we want to actually appreciate everyone who is following through these conversations, and I understand if you've been keenly following, you've picked a leaf or two from what they have actually advised us to do. Eating very well, a balanced diet is actually so good, most especially if you want to get rid of alcohol, and of course seeking medical advice is also important, most especially in this particular regard. But we want to thank you so much for being part of the Rose Live Show. We shall definitely be coming back yet again with yet another episode of quite a lot of different things, most especially those that go ahead to challenge us in our communities and societies. Have a good day. Bye bye.